Well, good morning. Good morning. Oh, what are we at here? April 16th, 2020. Hope you're all doing well. I'm Ron Neitzel, author of The Green Wizard's Guide. Your handbook to what your grandparents used to know. See, we struggled with the title of this thing because there are so many different ways we could have taken it, but wanting to stay on the comical side. Uh, and now I'm kind of sitting back, double thinking it. Maybe I shouldn't have gone with that particular route, because it's I don't know. Seems like it's offended a few people of religion, and that was the last thing on our minds when we were writing this. Let's stick around. I know I'm drifting a little bit with content, but it needs to be said. This is I don't want to call it a lifelong work. It's been 15 years. My property couldn't be any more incredible. My local supplier, Wilson Feed Mill, great people. They came out and they warned people against putting any chemical weed and feed stuff down. And I'm assuming it's a chemical. I'm not positive. But because we're still dealing with frost, which a lot of us are dealing with right now. There's some real Mother Nature's not happy with us, is my opinion. For some of us to still be seeing freezing weather in April when it's supposed to be nothing but rain, because of the old saying, April showers bring May flowers. That usually holds true for the entire country, but some of us are still seeing snow. See, and that's an interesting factor when it comes to the weed and feed that is suggested in the Green Wizard's Guide, because that stuff works no matter when you put it down. If it gets wet, look out, seeds. That's the easiest way to put it. I'm heading for my fifth cutting this week. It's just growing like wildfire, even though we're in the 30s and 40s. My grass is going to town. My neighbors aren't cutting. They're looking at it and they're trying to figure out why I'm ahead again. And of course, with social distancing, we're not talking to each other, but that's not new. Because our schedules are what they are. We're always off in different directions and what have you. But one of the things that brought me to today's topic, that was said, was that because of these cold temperatures, the chemicals aren't releasing. They're sitting there. Well, they're going to do something. And a lot of these bags with these other chemicals, non-organic chemicals, your warnings are masks and gloves and skin protection and wash your hands and this, that, and the other. And if you're putting something like that down on your yard, and it's got those kind of warnings. Um, think about what that's doing and what its potential could do. This is what brought me to today's topic: surfactancy. Um, I tried profusely to ignore a lot of the big scientific words. This is one we just can't ignore. It is tremendously important. Um, how can I describe this to you? You know, when you wash a frying pan, cast iron, or what have you, and you can see that the water is just not getting through, that it's being deflected. And until you add that soap, and even in some cases, it needs to be scrubbed. Um, and I see people going to steel wool in some cases to get things off of pans and cookie sheets and what have you. Um, that's the way I'm going to try and describe this today, because when you start thinking about your grass, you start thinking about your plants, all of them, tomatoes, peppers, corn, lettuce, what have you, they all have a natural surfactancy level where they deflect water to allow the water to get down to the roots and soak in naturally. But as we apply some of these other chemicals that are sitting on the ground, waiting to get in because of the cold, because of this, because of that, what is that doing to the immediate area that it's sitting in contact with? You know, I'd have a tendency to think that it might potentially be toxic and burning, and hurting the food web. And this is the entire issue. These products are actually slowing down our process, hurting our process in some instances. Well, Dawn, such a ancient product, Dawn soap, Dawn dish soap, has the ability to cut that surfactancy. Now, I've said, you know, plants have their own ability to put a waxy film on their greenery. And yes, Dawn will cut through that. What's not being said here, what I haven't said at this point is, what about aircraft? What about exhaust fumes? Okay. What about when you burn up a bunch of twigs, have a little bonfire, what have you, to get rid of materials, and the smoke lingers? Again, that's just another form of, if you're sitting around a bonfire and the wind changes direction and you take a deep breath, or try to take a deep breath, and you get nothing but smoke, and you're coughing and gagging and you can't, that's kind of what we're talking about here. These chemicals, these exhaust fumes are getting into and getting onto our yards, getting onto our trees, getting onto our homes, getting onto our plants, getting into our gardens, getting into our soils, and stopping the ability for water to get to the plants and to absorb into the plants. Now, a lot of you see this first thing in the morning with that morning dew, and you see the little droplets of water sitting on the grass, and it's beautiful. Just this little sparkle going on. Um, it's Mother Nature at its finest. But if that water is sitting there and it's not rolling off and getting down into the soils like it should, the surfactancy level might be too high. I tell everybody, every spring when the temperatures are right, get out there and wash your yard. Get that little bit of bubbling going on. You don't need a lot of bubbles. I'm not talking about something so thick that you can't see grass anymore. That's not what I'm quite referring to. Because it doesn't take a lot. Believe me, it does not take a lot. Um, but over time, were you not doing this, think about all the different things that potentially come in contact with your yard, with your garden, with your trees, your shrubs, your flowers, and inevitably into the soil. And what is it doing? Is it allowing the roots to absorb water the way it should? In my opinion, no. Because as soon as I addressed this issue, I started seeing more and more water being absorbed by my yard, which is what cuts down my need for ever watering my yard. And it doesn't matter what temperature it is. When the surfactancy level is low, every droplet of water absorbs, whether it's into the plant directly or whether it's into the soils and coming in through the roots or going down as deep as it needs to go to store itself out of the sunlight. The other thing that people don't think about is that for these plants, the greenery, to produce oxygen, those pores need to be open. They need to be able to exhale oxygen. And in some cases we're just doing a chemical dump. Now think about if you live near an airport. A lot of these airplanes, they're given so much fuel with just a little bit of excess for this, that, or the other, the turbulence or the whatever they're dealing with. But when they come into land, they're only allowed to land with so much fuel. They're only allowed to decelerate and set the wheels down with a certain amount. So what are they doing with the excess fuel? And this is just a jet landing, okay, near an airport. There's my mind drifts as I think about all the different potentials of things that are going on out there that are going to disturb the surfactancy level of your property, of your yard, of your garden, um, that need to be washed off. And you're dealing with, I hear a lot of people talking about, well, we've got fire ants, or we've got this, or we've got that. Citrus, tremendous deterrent for a lot of different bugs. Um, these products from Dawn have citrus in them, whether it be lemon or oranges or what have you. These are natural deterrents that you can spray on your house. These are natural deterrents that you can spray in your bushes and your shrubs to drive off certain unwanted pests, we'll call them. They're Mother Nature's cleaners. Don't misunderstand. They're there for a purpose. They do serve a purpose. But a lot of us find them annoying. God forbid a spider get in your house and you see how freaked out you get. Anyhow, where I'm going with this is keep that surfactancy level in mind. A lot of people are beginning their seedlings and beginning their gardens, and a lot of these top soils, potting soils, are chemically bound. And even though they stay moist, what are they releasing? What are they doing to the root factor? Are they assisting these newborn plants in their surfactancy level, or are they a deterrent? Now, I'm not saying that starting seeds in a chemically bound uh, potting soil, topsoil, doesn't work. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that your advantages, knowing that were you to wash some of these things prior to attempting to use them, might be to your advantage, and remove those chemicals. Now I know a lot of these are 10 10 10, blah blah blah, gobbledygook in the NPK factors. And yeah, some of those do play an advantage. I'm not gonna knock what appears to work. What I'm saying is that there are some potentials there that need to be thought about. When you go and build your own starting soils in your compost piles, these are chemically enhanced, all natural booster shots, if that's the way you want to look at it, that will boost your soils, boost your plantings, boost everything, because there's so much abundance in nature's way. There's so much abundance in the food web that any seed just accelerates and takes off. So when you start questioning or you start looking at some of the things I suggest, such as washing your yard, think about the surfactancy level. When you go to water your plants and water your soils, think about the surfactancy level. Were you out there with a lawnmower that is smoking like crazy? Were you out there with the fire pit? Are you in the landing pattern of the airport this week? Uh, uh, all these things are factors. Are you near factories that have fumes that you can smell and see? All of this stuff is a factor. Now, when we start talking about your soils, and you start thinking about what all of this is doing to the soil, you're seeing clay. And you're asking questions going, wait, I have clay. Wait, I have red clay, yellow clay, green clay, whatever the case may be. All of those chemicals just settle and sit and increase clay because the air factor is gone, the organic living material is gone. All of that stuff is sealed up in that clay. And all we have to do is reverse things, wash things off, open things up, just like washing your car. You want that water to bead off. You want that water to just be running like fresh paint. And you want, that's what we're talking about with your soils. It should be that clean, that aerified. We don't need to bring in soils and introduce unknown factors. We just need to clean things off and go a slightly different direction. And it's the surfactancy level. It's the ability to deflect water. We want to cut that. We want the water to absorb in. We want our yards to drink that water in. We want our gardens to drink this stuff in and not have to water, not have to introduce foreign chemicals. Nature's incredible. She truly is. And all we have to do is give her a little bit of help and things explode. It's incredible what's possible. Absolutely incredible. I'm still amazed when I look at my yard and I look at what my test beds do and how they perform and what factors are kicking in. Now, my garlic's going like mad. The more sunlight garlic can get, the better. And it doesn't matter how close they are. It really doesn't. You know, and other channels will tell you the same thing. They're testing it themselves. I've not seen some of the other stuff come up. The non-bulb plants come up that are there. The seedlings are there. I'm waiting on that to make a judgment call, or whether I'm going to go in and plant some other things to keep my soils covered, to keep them in the shade, to blanket my soils. The more plants you have in your garden, the better off you are. Now, granted, you don't want a bunch of weeds going, but nature's given you a remedy for that. Understand your surfactancy level. Go out and put a little bit of water on your grass and see what happens. Trust me, you won't regret it. And then when you address it with the surfactancy level and you put that little bit of Dawn in the hose end sprayer and you hose some things down, it's amazing. It's amazing what Mother Nature can do, because you take away the man factor and you open things up. All right, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you've listened to it this long. There's more to come. I appreciate your time, everybody. You have a great day. We'll talk to you.